Okay, here we are. Hey, Tom.
Hey, what's up, man?
Tom and I are meeting for the about the first time, except for just before when you were going on stage, because you were a fill-in.
Yep. Very last minute. This is probably the most last minute headlining date I've ever done.
Yeah.
Booked on Tuesday?
Yes.
And was here on Thursday.
Yeah, because
across the country.
it all happened like Monday.
Yeah.
I guess it was. So it was great to have you.
Thanks for
enjoyed
having
your
me.
show.
Happy to do it.
Yeah. And I know it's good to see you enjoy playing with the crowd, and which I do too. It's
there was some fun.
You were good at it.
There was some fun. I like when people are like up for the game of it, because I don't like to be mean to people, but like if you can do a little bit of poking, sometimes people are really sensitive to it. Where you're like, all right, I'm going to leave you alone. That's okay. But there was a guy who had been married for 52 years in front. He was he was an older fella, and he was so funny. I like when he has fun with it too, because then he goes home and he's like, his family is like, oh, that was so fun.
Sure.
And you did this, so it's a memory,
Well, and hosting for so many years, of course you fall into it because what the fuck?
Yeah.
Back in the days when I was, 5 nights a week, every fucking week, you can't stick to material. You got to do, and
you lose your mind.
You're the opening of the show. It's just to fluff the crowd, But
I didn't do it for a long time because the club I started in, when you were hosting, you were not allowed to do crowd work.
Oh, really?
And I started in crowd work because I was an improviser, and it made me better to have to like work on material and all this stuff. And then when I started headlining, I noticed people kind of do, especially now, they kind of want it. And my wife loves it. And when I wasn't doing it, and I'm pretty good at it. So she was like, oh, I like when you do it, because it's like, it makes it special for some people. And it's like, I get that. So I try to make a little bit of it every show. And sometimes it turns into half my act. Sometimes I do it for
you never
3
know.
minutes.
You never know where it's gonna kind of roll. And I didn't, I came from a theater background. So I would at least first 5-6 years I did comedy. I never made eye contact ever. I looked through the crowd, which I was used to doing on stage.
Sure,
And then I was probably 12 years into it before I ever even thought about talking to the crowd.
Really?
And that came from hosting. That didn't come headlining. That came hosting because it kind of became a necessity, And we had, we a lot of our ticket giveaways are birthdays.
Sure.
So every show, I know I got a shitload of birthdays out there. So you can just go, who's got a birthday?
Right.
Or an anniversary.
Yeah.
And so it's fun. And when you were doing that, you had the two couples. One was 52, and then the other one was 53, right?
Yeah.
The standard line I have here in Sarasota is somebody will be like that, 50-something years married, and you'll get this applause, and I'll go, do you notice? I said, if you said you were married over 50 years anywhere else in this country, the whole crowd would
right.
Because everybody knows how incredibly hard that is, and especially in here in Sarasota. You get about a third of the crowd. You know what the rest of the crowd's thinking? Rookies.
Yep.
Rookies.
Yeah. I've noticed that this week.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
half the crowd's over there. They don't know the hell that awaits them at 68.
Yeah.
But
that's funny.
It is. But
I try to switch up. Because sometimes I'll say, if they say something like 50, 60, I'll say, I mean, it's usually what pops in my head, but I'll say like, oh, did you guys meet on Tinder? I think
what I love doing is when they've been married that long, and you did it too, is I go, every time I go, who saw who first? I want to know who saw who first and initiated this relationship. How did that work? And it's always such a wonderful question, as to getting the dynamic of how the first spark of this thing happened. And then my next lead in is, so from there, how long did it take before it turned romantic.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes, and these people have been married, like a day. Sometimes it's like, well, really a couple hours. You whore. It's fun.
That is fun. Last night we had one where the way that they met is she threw up on him, and I like to turn it into like, God, it's so easy to be a woman sometimes romantically. You're like, if that was a guy's story, it would not. They'd be like, yeah, I sued him. He was in jail the rest of it. That turned into a 50-year marriage.
Exactly. And you're married, right?
I am. Yeah.
And how long you been married?
2 years now.
Oh, okay.
A little over 2 years.
You're just getting started.
Yeah.
God, yeah. Well, that's fun.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. It's nice. It's
what does she
a lot
do?
different. She's in podcasting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does she produce or does
she does both? She produces and she hosts.
Okay.
For like an NPR affiliate in LA. So that's part of why we live out there.
Is it her own? Just her podcast?
It's through this company that's it's like an LA based show that's like about LA stories that are. It's cool. Yeah.
So do they actually pay her?
Mm-hmm.
That's
it's her
fantastic.
Job. Yeah, it's her job. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a journalist. She would work on. It would be public radio.
Yeah.
And that's what she does. Like they play her show on local radio or whatever in LA, but it's she started in that sort of thing, but it's journalism. It's not just like, it's funny because when we met, I was doing a podcast, but how like this, like comedians do podcasts, where we were just shooting the shit, and I was like, oh, I have a podcast. She's like, it's not the fucking same. Like, this is a lot of hours go into producing a story and days and months and stuff. It's not like. I was like, I do one, and it was me and my buddy just shooting the shit about music.
So hers is like investigative reporting.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So that's cool. How'd you meet her?
Now you're doing the crowd work on me.
Well, I'm just curious.
It is funny at the end of the day. That is what crowd work is. The conversation. We met on a dating app, Bumble, the one where the woman has to say something first.
Oh.
And have you heard about that app? It's interesting because it's different. It's the woman you match, and then the woman is supposed to take the lead. Like, they have to send the first message. And she didn't do it. She didn't send me a fucking message. And there's a 24-hour window. If she doesn't send a message, your match disappears. Okay. And I was about to get on a plane, and our match was going to disappear by the time I landed. And I wouldn't have had Wi-Fi or whatever, so I wouldn't have known if she messaged me. And I was just like... you got one extension a day where you could extend it, or a week or something like that, and you could extend it for another 24 hours. And I did that, and now we've been together for 8 years, something like that. It's crazy. But we wouldn't have even met if she still didn't make the move. Like, you still have to do it. But it was funny. Yeah, it's so
it took her 48 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Once I did the extend, it was like 27 hours or something like that. It was right over the limit. But we both had just gotten kind of out of stuff, so I think both of us were a little hesitant. I don't know if how much you know about these dating apps, but they're kind of a crapshoot.
Of course, being 69 years old,
yeah,
that was. But and Pam and I got married in 1987. So no, there was no such thing. It wasn't even cell phones.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's a different world, and it's like, it's funny because I remember I was in a relationship when they first came out, and in your head you're like, oh man, it must be nice for these guys who are single now, because now it's you have an app on your phone and you swipe, but it's really a hellscape, and it's like. You fall into it. I was barely on them because I was single for like 2 months before I met my wife. But I just got back on there it's like a confidence booster. You're like, am I in the world? Like, can I, like, will people swipe right on me? Like, can I get any matches even? And I did it for that, and then I ended up. I was like, I'm not even gonna meet anybody. I don't need to be doing that. It's too fast. I was all messed up, and then it was one of those things where I was like, we met, and I was like, no, this is too good, and then it's been.
The thing I wonder on that is because when I was single, I'm a guy that. Just out in, nightclubs, and I worked in nightclubs and all that kind of stuff, but, and I had buddies.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of buddies that looked like rock stars. I mean, like fucking rock stars.
Mm-hmm.
And they could go to the darkest corner of the fucking place.
Yeah.
And have 5 beautiful women come find them.
Yep.
That ain't me.
Yeah, same,
okay,
buddy.
That is not me. You know, and so I realized, I go, hey, I'm okay looking, at that point in my life. I'm okay, but I'm not the guy that's turning heads.
Right.
And so much of the women that, through that period of my life, the women that I did get to be with, that were the women that were like kind of your wow girls, right?
Uh-huh.
I had to do that through talking to them.
Oh yeah,
you had to be charming.
Yep.
You had to win them over with this guy, where they're going. Yeah, this isn't the fucking rock star guy.
Yeah,
but he's fucking nice and fun, and and he's okay looking, and and then you work your way in a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know how you do that on a dating app.
Well, it's tough. You have a little window of like. There is an element of some people are just going to see your picture, and believe me, brother, this was me. I'm sure a bunch of them will be like, nope, too short, whatever, too goofy looking, his teeth are fucked up. And so it's all shit you got to get past. But you have a bio, and you can be funny in that. And then if you still have to, be able to be funny and converse or whatever. I would try to get off the app as fast as I could and do it. Because I was good in the moment. I was like, I was good at having a conversation with somebody and being in the moment. And so many guys aren't good at that shit. Like, they're not good at, like, looking a woman in the eyes and fucking having a real conversation and feeling like they're in the moment. They're dumb. That's the thing with the rock star looking guys. Sometimes they are awful at this shit. So And a lot of times they just want to, like, sleep with somebody, where it's like, so often it's like, I would go and I really wanted to meet somebody. I very rarely only had one date with somebody, because I would I was a romantic fucking kid, whatever, and we would get along. I always got along.
And
with
the good-looking guys suck. They suck in bed.
That's right.
Because they don't feel like they have to try.
Exactly. I mean, there's some truth
try.
to that. And I'm sure the good-looking guys. Yeah, I tried so hard. Yeah,
so as hard as I can. I'm giving you 1,000%.
I do think a lot of these guys. I think it's so true. They just don't cry, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure they're doing just fine.
Yeah.
But it's there's an element of like if you're a decent guy. This is the thing with these incels now. It's like they all complain about like it's impossible to date or whatever, and so much of it is just being nice. If you can just be a nice guy, you'll be fine. Like actually nice.
My mother, my mom, she loved to just tell me shit, like life advice when I was a teenager. But she said to me just out of the clear blue one day, she goes, "Be a good man, you'll get a good woman."
Yeah.
That's all you need to do. Mm-hmm. Just be a good guy.
Yeah.
Good thing. The good stuff will come to you.
It's true.
Yeah. And you don't have to like trick people into it.
No.
You don't have to finagle your way around. Just be a nice person.
Yeah.
And it's like my daughter. She's single. She's 32, and early on, she would say, why is it, Dad? This is back when she was, first, or 17, 18. Why is it, Dad? It's always the same. These guys are great at first.
Yeah.
And then they turn out to be assholes. I go, because they were an asshole the whole time. Mm-hmm. I said, what you're not allowing is you're not allowing yourself enough time to get to know somebody. It's like I had a girlfriend, true friend, in college. We were in theater together. And she said, and her dad was my mentor. He was the head of the theater department at University of Memphis. And she told me one time, she goes, my dad told me one time, she goes, if you will restrict yourself to only having sex with the people that you really get to know and like, not in love with, I mean, you don't have to, But if you will just take the time, he goes, most of your romantic relationships will be good.
Yeah.
And not funky.
Yeah.
If you just jump in bed with somebody because they're attractive, but you don't get to know them, you're probably going to have some weird fucking situations.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, that's what solid advice
that's
to
great
give somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like, obviously, everybody has their own prerogatives. It's like what you go. Some people just want to have sex, and that's it, and have a good time. But it's like, that's fine. But if you're looking for an actual thing, and you want to even just to have somebody to hang out with, because that's where, like, even dating or hooking up with people, whatever. It's like, I remember there was a couple people where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this person would be with me at all. Like, and then we would either sleep together or whatever. And then we're talking and I was like, I need to get out of here right now. Like, this is one of the weirdest people I've ever met, and they're just saying shit to me, and I'm like, I have got to fucking go. I can't have a conversation with you. And you
super attractive, and you're just going,
and you're
weird
like,
as
oh
fuck.
yes,
you know it's just, this is fucking wrong. You know what I mean?
And then it all clicks. You're like, oh, that's why she was
right.
And I'm not the good guy in the story. It's like I still slept with a person that, but I was just like, oh, I could never have a relationship with this person because it's exactly what you said. If I had given it another beat, I would have learned, like, oh, we can't have dinner together, like, because I can't have a conversation.
You know, as I again going back to my daughter, you know, there's a point where I go, in her generation, she's a millennial, and she was like, it's like everybody, it's like you go along and then you meet somebody that turns you on.
Yeah.
And you sleep together and it's wonderful. And you go, boy, that's my boyfriend now.
Yeah.
That's my boyfriend. We're boyfriend girl. That's it. And I go, you don't even know this motherfucker. I mean, you know, why? Yeah, but that's the way it is, Dad. You know, that's the way we do it, you know. And I was like, why don't you just date around? And she goes, what, you want me to be a whore? I go, that's not a whore. That's not a whore.
Going out with people.
I go, just go out with, and, you know, and because that person that is the person.
Yeah.
You'll be lucky to meet one of them in a lifetime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe there's a dozen in the whole fucking world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's that rare.
Yeah.
You know, we all know it. And I go, you can't make that happen. That's the one thing I've seen in my life. You can't force it to happen.
Yeah.
You can't make that happen. You have to let it fucking happen.
Yeah.
Every time I've seen somebody force that to happen, it never, ever fucking worked out.
No, of course not.
Never.
I mean, that's a big part of why the divorce rate's so high is people try to force into it, you know. And it's tough because sometimes people do just grow in different ways, whatever, down the line. But so often it happens immediately because they're like, oh, I thought I wanted to be married. I didn't, you know, I wanted to be married more than I cared about finding the right person. Yeah. But my friends all got married, so I should be married.
Well, I ran into, you know, what I've seen in my life, and I've seen it more with guys than girls, and but that doesn't mean anything, you know.
Yeah.
But I've met a lot of guys that go, I can't be alone.
Oh yeah.
It is torture for me to be alone. But I don't like to date around either. Yeah. So then what happens is, as soon as they meet somebody that they feel that they are attracted to, they're attracted to them, they have sex, you're it.
Yeah.
And they do everything to make it because they don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
And it's like, I could tell anybody, I go, one of the most powerful characteristics you can have in your life is being comfortable with yourself. Being comfortable being alone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything else in your life, because it's what you're doing when you're dating the other way is you're bargaining with no chips. You're like,
correct. You
got nothing to. What are you adding? That was a nice thing. That's why I was shocked. I was single for so little. I liked being single. I loved it because I was like, I was single for a lot of my 20s because I got engaged really young. And then after that, I was like, oh, I need to figure a bunch of shit out. And I was into stand-up. And stand-up is not a good thing to be in a relationship in because you're out every night. And I think like the relationships I did have, I was not a good partner because I was out at the comedy clubs every night to watch because I was obsessed with it. So I was working all the time. And I heard Bill Burr say once, he was like, comedians should not date until they're at least in their 30s because you're a psycho. You're obsessed with the thing. And I was obsessed with it, and I was out every single night watching comedy, almost every single night.
Well, one of the things that going back to the same thing with me in my 20s, my thing was I never was in relationships because I thought they were bullshit.
Yeah.
Because what I saw relationships was we're acting like we're married, but we're not.
Yeah.
And when you're not committed to that, then you're playing this weird game. And I've told the story many times, but when Pam and I first met and we started dating, and we had known each other, we worked together, we were waiting tables together.
Yeah.
And then we, several months in, we ended up going out, and then we hit it off. And a couple months in, she said, you can move in with me. And I go, that ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
And she looked at me. She's 6 years younger than me. So at the time, she was 21 and I was 27, 28 years old. And she looked at me like, you stupid old fucking redneck. Did you hear what I just fucking said to you?
Yeah.
Look at me. Look at me. Give yourself a hard look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Look at me. She didn't say that, but I know it was in her head.
Yeah.
She was like, I told you. And I said, it ain't going to happen, man.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, you're forcing yourself into a situation where now you have to make a lot of compromises that you're not ready for because you're not committed.
Yeah.
And you're not. 9 out of 10, you're doing it because it's cheaper.
Right.
But I've got my place. You got your place. And I said, and I go, here's the other thing. Until there's an engagement ring on your finger, you know what that means? You don't think I'm the one. Yeah. And I don't think you're the one.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, what the fuck does that mean?
Right.
I go, exactly that. I'm having a great time with you right now. We're having a great time together.
Yeah.
We adore each other. But we're not committed. So you know what that means? If you meet somebody tomorrow that you think is attractive and interesting, you should be totally comfortable to pursue that if you want to.
Yeah.
I should too. Of course, then her main thing, so you're... No, you'll probably find I'll be with you most of the time. But what I'm saying is, and I'm saying it to you too, you should, because I might not be the guy. And that guy might be the fucking guy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm confident enough in myself to go, you should do that. And because if we're meant to be, it'll work out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that is what it should be.
Exactly right. And I think the other thing with the comic thing is, and this is something that the reason we're here and not in L.A. when we got married, was that are we career oriented first, or are we family first? Are we career first or family first? And there's no wrong answer there, but you can't be both.
Sure. But that's the funny thing about we're a rare couple of people because we're in LA because of family. If it was career oriented, we'd be in New York because that's where I was making.
It's a better comedy scene. That's
where
sure.
It's like everything was good for me.
Right.
Living in LA for me is like moving to the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Because it's harder to fly out of. It's there's less money in town.
Right.
I was making my living doing comedy clubs in New York. And I would every once in a while I would do the road once, twice a month maybe. Right. I'm on the road almost every weekend now because there's no money in LA. So we're there because we live 10 minutes from her parents and we're trying to have kids and like it's the right move. We've just like I that matters to me. I want to be a good husband and a good partner and a good dad when we have kids, and it's like so much of that is a sacrifice, which is living in LA, and I hate it. But it's also like I love it because she loves it, and the weather's great and I can golf. But
I get that, and of course it's that thing. Y'all are just 2 years in, and you know there's that, and you don't have children, so there's that balance now of going. Okay, how much can I be away and it doesn't affect our relationship?
Yeah, and that's been a long balance.
You kind of figure that out.
It's been a nice like communication tool and test, because there were weeks where I was loading up my schedule because this is my dream, is to do this, and but also it is it's a big chunk of our income, so it's not some dream that I'm fucking around with. It's a job, and and the job part is traveling all the time, and it sucks to have to leave. But it's also, when I started this, if I had known that I'd be, coming to Sarasota to fill in for John Rudnitsky, I'd be shitting my pants. I'd be so happy, I'd be psyched to be traveling and doing this all the time.
Sure.
And so when I started booking stuff, I was like, look, I've filled up 40, 50 weeks this year, whatever, 45, whatever. And then she starts looking at my calendar and she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're gone every week this month or every weekend? And I was like, that's what I thought that's what we were trying to do. And then she's like, I'm only off on the weekends. You're gone every week. And so I had to be like, all right, I'll try to like curb it a little bit and work it around your schedule. But also, we bought a house in LA. Like, we have to afford shit. And luckily she has other people in her life too to be like, well, you guys, it's a job, and I'm at home on the weekdays for the most part, which is nice. And when we have kids, it's going to be a whole extra conversation about that, where it's like we won't have to have a babysitter during the week because I'll be home, which would be great.
Well,
I'll be gone
when Pam and I got married, I cut my road work 2 weeks a month.
Yeah.
Because I went, okay, that puts me away from you. Josh Blue.
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
Come over here and sit down if you want to. I don't care.
Yeah, join us, please.
But I cut it down because I go, that puts me away from Pam for 10 days a month.
Yeah.
12 at the most. And we talked about it, and I go, that's okay. Mm-hmm. But if I'm going to, here was kind of my litmus test on that.
What's up, man?
Yeah. We were talking about the perils of being married and touring all the time and keeping that together.
You know what really works for that is divorce.
We got to get you hooked in, brother.
He's getting them hooked up. Well, here was my thing on that.
Yeah.
Was that kind of my litmus test.
Yeah.
That I would ask anybody. How long can you comfortably go without sex and be okay with it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Be okay with it.
Uh-huh.
And if that's 2 weeks, if it's 4 weeks, if it's whatever it is for a person.
Yeah.
8 minutes. 8 minutes. You fucking jacked off just before you came in here. But if you're away from somebody, if you're away from somebody for 4 and 6 weeks at a time, and you go, I like to have sex, 4 times a week or whatever. And then 2 weeks goes by, and your wife is kind of in that same. And I go, it's a setup that you're going to cheat on each other because you're horny,
right?
And they ain't around, and this is happening on a regular fucking basis. And then all of a sudden she meets Josh, and then bingo,
and he's horny as hell.
He's horny all the time.
Done.
8 minutes.
That's why there's no women in this green room,
minutes.
man. We're all afraid.
8-minute man.
8 minutes between sex. Yeah, whenever I do it, I'm only gone. I try to only be gone Friday, Saturday, sometimes Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But then I come back every week, even though it doesn't make. My agent will be like, "What are you doing?"
You have to go back.
You gotta go back.
You have to check in. You have to.
Yeah.
You have kids? Or
not yet, but we're trying.
Do
you have kids?
2, yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
My boy's about to be 17.
What the hell?
That's fucking wild.
Babies
That's
having
wild,
babies,
man.
It's insane, dude.
Yes, it is insane.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But so your son's 17.
Yeah.
So you tour quite a bit, but you're home quite a bit too, because you think about it is Denver. You can work around Denver quite a bit.
There's a bunch, but I can't really. I just do my annual shows. I don't want to burn out my markets. So.
Right.
But you're at a part of your career where you can go out and just do Friday and Saturdays and come home.
Yeah.
Do 4 shows, make your money, and come home, and that's great when you're there.
But for me, I feel like my kids, this is all they've ever known was this is what Dad does.
Right.
I'm gone from here to here, and then I'm back on Sunday through Thursday,
Yeah.
Partners, like wives and shit, have a little more trouble comprehending that schedule because kids are like, this is what it is. Wives are like, I know something different.
Right. It's so weird how wives' brains work differently.
Yeah.
But no, it's. I think that there's a fair. I've talked to some comedians about this quite a bit because I think about it all the time about the kid part of it, and it's like, yes, I'm gonna cut back probably then, but it's also we gotta make money. Like,
the thing
that
I advice I give anybody is I go, you don't, in my opinion, you don't want to miss birth to 10 because that's the fun years with the kids. Once they get to be teenagers, they're pulling away from you. They get to be little assholes, all that shit. But that 0 to 10, it's like, and it goes like, and Josh can tell you, he's got 17. It goes like a fucking snap.
Yeah.
It's over so
when
fast.
You're in it feels like an eternity, but when you're like, look back and like, oh, that was what happened.
It's quick.
Yeah,
it's quick. Mine's 32. I got a grandson 6.
Yeah, damn.
And he's with us a lot, and we love it because we know how fast he's going to be 20 fucking years old, and I'll be dead.
Yeah.
Hope not, but I'm shooting for 100.
You made it this far.
I know.
Less is more.
Pumped up.
There you go, man. You're a golfer, right?
Yes, I am a golfer.
You just got to keep walking, and you'll be good.
Oh, yeah, I keep walking and swinging, man. Keep that back together. So, and you, when did you take up golf recently?
Just about a year and a half ago. I suck, but I love it.
Well,
I think I'll probably always.
The thing
suck,
about golf is, no matter where you get with it, it's a sadistic fucking game.
Yeah,
it is sadistic.
I kind of like where I'm at right now because I for a minute I was getting a little better. And I was like, oh, now I'm getting upset because now I don't ever get upset because I'm bad. I just have a motto. I'm like, I'm bad at this. Why would I ever get mad?
I played with guys who were like, but I mean, because most people don't break 100, not legitimately.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm like a 10 handicap.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And I'm like a 38 handicap.
38 special. Have you played golf?
You want me to break 100? I can break 100.
Well, I know. But I mean, you can play golf with one arm. You can swing that motherfucker.
520s, baby. I need it.
You can do that.
I've never played golf legitimately. Like, nobody ever has left-handed clubs for me. Nothing,
My girl. Well, you got to get Phil Mickelson's old clubs.
Cool.
Good lefty.
Start with those.
Good lefty club. The thing about it is,
turns out it's just the clubs.
I'm sure he'd gamble you for them.
Yeah. Left hand dominant anyway.
Yeah.
Your left hand's supposed to be guiding.
Exactly.
It's supposed to be guiding everything.
Yeah, so
anyway.
really,
your right hand's just kind of there. Making the turn.
I'm guiding it with this one here.
What you do is you take some duct tape. Fucking wrap that thing and then just sling that motherfucker around there. And pow!
They have some weird clubs now too that you just get it close to it and it'll shoot it for you.
Really?
Yeah, I saw it on Instagram.
Fucking crazy shit. Well, it's the thing I like about golf is that, and I can tell you after playing for a long, long time, it's if you're a type of person that likes a sport that you constantly have to tinker with, golf is your sport. Because there's so many different facets to the game that there's always something to tinker with.
I know.
Always.
And then you'll have to re-tinker with something because you'll figure out something new.
The mental part of it, there's the physical part of it, then there's the mental part of it. And truly, I think if you're emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, those four in golf, and I'm sure it's in every sport, but in golf, if any one of those four are off, it shows up in your fucking game.
It's golf more than any other sport, though. I think. I mean, at least because I used to play basketball a lot, and you could have a bad day and still play decent basketball. Golf, you have to be locked.
And Josh is a soccer player.
I was on the Paralympic team, and I have to just tell you this. There's nothing ever in soccer that you tinker with.
Yeah.
Fucking little bitches, man. They ain't tinkering.
You just
you think this is pansy shit. You never had to tinker, bro. Tinkering is some of the most manly shit on the planet.
I tinkered my slide tackle.
You horny ass. Yeah. You tinkering your slide tackle.
Tinkering.
Don't be tinkering your slide tackle in front of me,
not
man.
a word that is brought up in soccer or any football game.
Any other sport at all.
I guess it's tinkering. I don't know. No. Badminton's pretty. You see Olympic badminton?
In that, man.
They ain't fucking around.
Tennis, you got to tinker.
Those fucking Indians.
Yeah, dude.
Isn't the badminton like big in India?
I'm pretty sure
I think it
is.
is.
You can't say that, man.
Well, if it's true, I
That's
can.
true.
But he's part Indian. It's in his
yeah.
show.
But also, it's like, who cares?
He's an Indian with no accent.
That's my joke, yeah.
Like I'm Irish with no accent. I'm going to Ireland for the first time this year. I'm Scottish and Irish.
That's
I've been to
awesome.
Scotland, did that.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to Ireland. Have you been to India?
I've not been to India, and I want to go. I've had a bunch of Indian people after shows try to invite me because I didn't know my dad, so I don't have any relationship to India.
Right.
Like I got
kind of like Barack
fucked.
Obama, right?
I got fully fucked on on any kind of experience with any of that shit and estate stuff. So it's like. I have no relation to it other than my blood, you know?
Right.
Like a nice doll.
Yeah.
You like Indian food?
I love Indian food. It's all that stuff. It's like right there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Papa doll.
When you said doll, I thought you were talking about like a doll, like a Cabbage Patch doll for a minute. My bad. I know what you're talking about, yeah. I love that. I love Indian food.
Me too.
And Indian people, whenever when I meet them, Indian comics, we always get along. Like I love it, but it's like I joke about it on stage. It's like I culturally am like I'm from Indiana, which there's a joke in there, but like, but yeah, I my father fucking wasn't around, so I don't have it. I'm like it's it's like.
Where did you get turned on to Indian food? Did your mother make it, or did you just go to Indian restaurants?
No.
Right? Yeah.
No, there was an Indian restaurant. I'm from Bloomington, Indiana, and there's a bunch
Bloomington, baby. The Hoosiers. The largest collection of sexual paraphernalia on the planet.
Kinsey
the Kinsey Institute. Yeah. I've been there. Yes, I did. Used 3 of them.
They haven't seen my buddy John's house.
Once they get a peek at that.
That's
John loaded up for when fucking Josh comes over.
In your fucking show. Okay. That needs to be your show next week, or it's in my show next week. One of us is putting that on fucking stage.
You can have it.
Okay. All right. I love that. I love that.
I heard you at John's house.
The Kinsey Institute, the largest, and it is, right?
Yeah,
University of Indiana. Yeah.
Or John's house.
You haven't been to my buddy John's house.
Yeah, he's got a trap door.
Woo! That is.
All right, let me try it first. That's going to kill.
It is going
Throw
to
it
kill.
out there. That's good stuff.
I am so, I can't wait to do that next Friday night.
I'm doing it tonight.
Okay, you do it.
Do it tonight.
You do it. You
Throw
put
it up there.
You put it up there. Oh, man. That's too much. Well, it's great to have you here,
Thanks
man.
for having
Thanks for
me,
doing the
man.
podcast.
Yeah.
Josh, thanks for dropping by.
Yeah, man. It was fun.
Are you doing a set?
Do a set, man.
I don't know. I'm not.
We'll see what happens.
Both of you do a set. Let's
Thanks,
do it.
Guys. Okay.
Let's run it. Let's go turn it into a showcase. I'll do 15.
Everybody do 15. We'll get the fuck out of here.
I love
it. Doesn't do one, I'll do one.
I'd rather you do one than me do one. They've seen me. This town has seen me a fucking